What's up, boys? Welcome back to a new video. Today we're going to be looking at Rogue versus Zest from the group stage. So this is not the finals from IEM, but the game they played earlier in the group stage at the third day of IEM after the offline qualifiers. So let's do proper introduction. In the top right, spawning as the blue Prolos, it is of course Zest for Team Raise Your Edge. And in the bottom left, it is a Rogue for Team Jin Air. And we see Zest doing something that's been doing a lot lately, where he'll build a pylon at 13 supply rather than 14 supply. So you cut one probe, then run to the other side of the map real fast to block the natural of his opponent. This cuts about 5 minerals, I believe, in your actual build order compared to a 14 pylon scout. And on a lot of map it guarantees that you get to block this natural, which you don't always get to do if you do a 14 pylon. So nice start here for Zest, who will be heading into that. We see a little bit of mineral harass coming out. Rogue on the other hand decided to, of course, take his hatch first on the third base location in that case, and then just go into a pool and an extractor. Now, Zest will follow this up with a nexus and then most likely a core here to either produce a full wall or he can leave a gap in between. Okay, yeah, this is a full wall. This is possible on this map because there's another entrance here, or an exit, whatever you may use it as. And you can move, or well, you can remove these minerals with your probes to later gain access towards your third base again through this quicker path. So that's most likely what Zest will be doing. Most likely will be blocking off this area earlier with like either a stalk or an adept, or he might even full wall it with a pylon, or a pylon over here, gateway over here. There's lots of options for Zest to do what he wants. Goes in with the probe scout once again. A little bit more of a mining denial. I'd always be a little bit afraid to do it this late. If 2 links pop and you're still on creep, you might just lose your probe. You don't want that, of course. Now have that probe moving back towards... Well, I'm not quite sure where it's moving towards. Seems to be idling for a bit, which is completely fine. Most likely we'll be heading back home. We have a Overlord trying to spot everything for Rogue. Now, a trick that a lot of Zergs do is they'll hide one Overlord in one location and links on the other. So if the Proles moves out with his first gate unit, then the Overlord will come in to try and get a scout. Now we see right now Rogue has seen absolutely nothing yet of the tech of Zest. Zest will be heading into a Twilight Council and a robotics facility, and if I would have seen this a week and a half ago, I most likely would have called this as a DT drop. But after IEM, I now know that this is also very common to go into something like 4-gate or 3-gate adept, or 5-gate adept, of course, all possible. Zest most likely prefers the 4-gate version, gets 2 gates on top of his initial gate, starts with glaives and then his 4th gate, which means he'll get an initial warp in of 3 and then another warp in of 4 to total an adept count of 8 on the other side of the map. Prism will be chrono boosted once, I believe, with this build as well, and he stays at a worker count of 41 workers. So it's very similar to the build that I did the build order guide on, like the 5-gate adept all-in. This is slightly less all-in, slightly more economical, and this doesn't follow up necessarily with a DT drop. Of course, the 5-gate all-in also doesn't necessarily follow up with that DT drop, but in the build order guide I did do that. Now we see Zest mining these 15 minerals. It's a little bit scary to do that if you don't have a full wall here. Imagine if the Zerg just hides like 10 links here and he sees this happen, and the moment you remove the final 5 minerals, he just runs in with 10 links. You might just instantly lose the game, or at least be in a bad spot. Luckily for Zest, that is not happening, as he walks across the map, or flies across the map with his prism. Those 4 adapts, warps in 4 more from those 4 gateways. Glaives is about to finish up, not quite done yet, 10 more seconds. Baneling Nest is very close to being done, as well as a Spinecrawler in the third base. We actually see slow links here coming out of Rogue. I didn't actually realize he didn't have any link speed. Link speed still being researched as well. These adepts should not finish their shade most likely. Yes, instead will stay at that third base, where more and more adepts most likely will be warped in another shade forward. But as there's Banes done now, this is going to be kind of difficult for Zest to really get any big damage done. Some good splits coming out of him, though. Queens are focusing on that Prism, which almost goes down, but not quite. Another Adept Shade will be heading into the mineral line of the natural. How many links is there still remaining? Still 18 links remaining, but this is still a decent count of adepts as well. No Banes here to deal with all of these adepts. And this is a pretty good hold here by Rogue, who cleans this up relatively easily, I would say. Still 4 adepts remaining, but 44 workers. Layer now on the way, as well as Baneling Nest already done. And I mean, he has a bunch of links, so perhaps he can put on some counter pressure. Zest is a little bit scared now, works in 2 more adepts at home. And a battery, of course, for this Ling counter attack, or this run by or whatever it's supposed to be. Let's see what the follow-up here will be for Zest. Zest takes double gases right now. Will be going into a Forge. I think Blink might be an option. Charge is also an option. It's very scary if you play a non-Stargate opener, because there's always the possibility of Muta, which is why a lot of the time when you see people do non-Stargate openers, they will be following up with that Blink Stalker tag. But in this case, Zest seems to be kind of content not getting anything from that Twilight Council. Instead opting to go for more Immortals and Charge indeed. So would probably struggle with some kind of Spire, but not sure if Rogue will do that. Layer has finished. Hydra then is on the way, as well as +1 for Link. So most likely we'll be going into a Hydra, Ling, Baneling composition. Still see these adepts actually doing a decent job denying some creep with that Observer and the Prism. Evo Chamber actually blocking the path for the Queens to target this this Prism. There's some creep spread on the map, but there's not a lot, and it's already 7 minutes in. We see a big Link drop coming in, or a big Link drop, 7 links. It's not massive, it's still one of the smaller Link drops, only a single Overlord. Zest does not have vision of this area, which is really gonna suck for him once these links come in. Oh, ooh. Even morphing straight into Banes. 7 Banes being morphed in, 3 will be heading towards that natural, and I believe 4 will be heading to the main. That's kind of exciting. Meanwhile, we do have Zest still harassing with this Prism as the Banelings do come in, and we'll be able to clear. Well, 5 workers in the main. How many work? Ooh, that was a bad call. 2 more here, and maybe 1 or 2 more here as well. Not too many. Good micro here, well, good micro. Good reactions here by Zest. Not really micro running away with pro. Yeah, decent defense. We see +1 not quite done yet. +1 is on the way for Zest as well, who is the rather low worker count, I have to admit. 56. Ideally you'd want to be somewhere around 66. Of course the main will run out pretty soon. You see these patches are getting low. 300 minerals left on 1. 50, 60 and 95. So soon I guess he can just transfer some mineral workers from the main to the 3rd or natural, whichever base needs the workers more. In this case it is a natural. See another link drop coming in, or at least an attempted link drop coming in. Picks them up, will most likely just drop straight into the natural as he saw a Stalker defending that main base. Zest decides it's time to move out. He has Blink, he has 3 Immortals, but I don't think this army is big enough to really fight Hydra Ling Bane on creep. I think Zest realized that as well, right? He should not be going here. 3 adepts trying to shade forward. A big Zealot Archon warp in, actually, which goes unspotted for a bit at least. We see some creep denial. We see some dancing here from Zest. He will be jumped on now by Rogue. I don't think this army is big enough to take on all of this. There's no Archons here. There's not a lot of Zealots. Meanwhile, during this fight, we have a link drop into the natural. Zest responding rather fast. We also have a run by into the 3rd base of Rogue. So Zest really juggling with these 2 armies. Now, it's very funny because his worker supply isn't the highest, but his army supply is actually growing very quickly. See another warp in with a ballsy Prism, and I think Zest might just be able to clean Rogue up here. As what's really left here for Rogue? Oh, it's Queens and Link, not a single Hydra, no Banelings, and I mean this is 3 Immortals. Feedback's going down on the Queen. It's rare to see, but does happen. GG gets called. So interesting game here by Zest, who managed to pick up that win in the first game of this series. So let's head into game number 2. Between Zest and Rogue. Rogue, of course, up 1-0. Right, or I mean, sorry, Zest actually up 1-0. Oops. After that weird early game, which I didn't feel was great for Zest, and then actually losing some more workers in the main, he managed to kill Rogue, who I think was getting a bit too greedy on the gas, but it didn't feel like he was really overproducing drones. Like he had a very conservative drone count, I believe at 70, Perhaps he built Hydras a bit too early in the game and ideally would have had a higher drone count faster. But it was such a weird fight as well in the end, with those two armies just juggling between the two bases. Zest once again opening for the same thing, by the way, with that 13 pylon, managed to block the hatchery on the natural for Rogue. And this is very painful. It really is quite painful for two reasons. So, first reason, of course, is every drone that will travel here, actually it's multiple reasons, not just two. Every drone that will travel here loses a bunch of mining time instead of just having to walk here. It's like 5 extra seconds, so that's like 5 minerals for every drone. On top of that, if an adept ever shows up for a period that the adept is here and speed isn't finished, it means that no drones will be able to transfer from the main into the natural, which is at the 3rd location, of course. And finally, Rogue will need more links to defend against adept. So if there's just one adept, you'll need at least, I think, 6 links to deal with that, or maybe 4 links at home, which usually you can deal with it with 3 or 2 just fine. And if it's 2 adept, you're gonna need something like 10, because you really need to split properly. It's also way more likely that you're gonna be losing links if the Protoss player will move across the map with those adepts. So you see first adept coming out, second adept, not being chrono boosted by Zest. There's a chrono boost available on both bases. That will be used on probes, I guess. No, it won't be used on anything for now. Perhaps saving it up for that faster Oracle. So, if that's the case, it could also be for a fast Phoenix. Third adept into Phoenix Oracle, something like that. First adept is just hunting for Zerglings, not really too interested in scouting on the other side yet. Seen this a lot out of Zest, where he doesn't scout too much with those initial adepts. Yeah, okay, this is a fast Oracle. This is pretty cool. This adept Oracle and then into Stalker, which means you have your Oracle a little bit faster than usual. Usually, if you get a Stalker before the Oracle, you have to wait, and also you need to wait 4 or 5 seconds until you can use a chrono boost. The problem with this, however, is that you can't immediately queue up your next Oracle, as you just don't have the gas for it. So you'll need to wait for that next one, and basically there will be some downtime on your Stargate, which doesn't feel great, but it's not the worst either, so we can all live with it. So we see Zest trying to do some fancy moves with his initial adepts. See if this Oracle will be able to do anything. Like I said, it will arrive maybe 5 seconds faster, or maybe 6-7 seconds faster than it usually would. Might be able to pick up something somewhere. Yeah. Gets a creep tumor. Tries to spot for any drones. Gets, well, not a drone, but gets a larva, which is also nice. Oh, and actually missed micros there. Should have gotten 1 drone there. What do we have on Zest's side from now? Second Oracle on the way. Third Oracle on the way, Overlord speed as well. And this is what I was talking about, by the way, slight oversaturation in the main base now. Probably because of this Oracle more so than the Adept now, but you usually wouldn't see that as well, of course, because usually you can just walk from the main to the natural and you have the 2 queens defending the natural. Now you had the queens defending that, well, basically that 3rd base location. So that early game block does so much for the Protoss, up until basically the 5-minute mark. It's still paying dividends in some kind of way. So you have a 3rd Oracle joining up with the initial 2. Might be going for a little bit of a drive-by. Let's see if queens are in, 3 queens in position. Oracle in position, or sorry, Overlord in position. Should be capable of scouting this out in time. Let's see how quick Rogue's response is. Does see the 3 Oracles. Oracles will be making his way into the natural, where there will only be a single queen. And this might do a little bit of damage. No? Zest deciding not to go for it from a different angle. I gets 2 workers, and that's completely reasonable. We'll try for another one. Should have probably just pushed this Oracle away and send it somewhere else while trying to get 1 or 2 more drone kills with these 2 Oracles. Not the hottest of micro. Follow-up is going to be a robotics facility, 2 sentries, a forge and a Twilight Council. So we could see something similar like last game, where we see a big push with a lot of gates from 3 bases. We might also see something a little more conservative out of Zest. Maybe some storm play. To be real, Zest isn't really a storm player. He's more of a guy that likes to kill his opponent with +1 in charge pushes majority of the time. Does some nice damage once again with these Oracles, and also keeps a good eye on what his opponent is doing. Of course, he spotted this Roach Warren. What else has he spotted? Spotted an Evo Chamber and the lair timing. Now, he isn't aware what upgrade this is, of course. You can't know that. But that's interesting, and it indicates, yes, infestation pit and most likely swarm host. Zest, however, is skipping gases on his third phase, which means he will be going for a fast 8-10 gate push, whatever it will be. Rogue scouted this and most likely will be preparing for it. He saw the lack of gases at 620, that's a very big tell. These two oracles are trying to get one more queen, that's a very high energy queen as well. Good micro by these oracles. They've been doing a lot. 550 resource loss for Rogue, 0 for our good friend Zest, who now has pylons on the side of his base. Will be able to spot any kind of link drop coming in. Still no gases on this base, as we see a Nidus network coming up for Rogue. And we see Zest pushing out with that, what is it, 5... Well, we should have somewhere around 9 gates, 8 gates soon. 2 more gates on the way. Yeah, we'll be going up to 9 gates. So 9 gates off of 4 gases will be very zealot heavy. Now, this is kind of interesting. For a long time, a lot of pros and Zergs thought this was the way to deal with swarmos, as you can be very aggressive on the map, and it forces the Zerg to kind of stay at home. The problem with this is that eventually you usually kind of run out of steam with your army. Once you start trading against Locust or basically if you just start trading against anything that isn't roaches, or you trade a little bit poorly, you basically lose the game. Same thing with the Zerg. Getting a single swarm host wave out on the other side of the map will make it extremely difficult for you as the Protoss player to really get a good fight. And yeah, we see this fight definitely isn't what Zest wanted. Loses 2 immortals, a bunch of zealots, and basically his entire army. Isn't really capable of warping in either, and yeah, this was absolutely awful fight for him. I think he just instantly lost the game, as his link drop also kills 10 workers. Nidus network is out, and where are the swarmos? Swarmos are here. Yeah, their cooldown will be up relatively soon. And once the next wave finishes, the game will most likely end. There's nothing in position for Zest to defend. If these locusts are microed properly, either into the main or into the natural, he will be able to get a nexus, I believe, or at least... Oh, not properly microed locust. We'll be going for pylons instead. I guess to limit the production might be fine, as he has such a big roach army. They might just be able to kill his opponent here. What does Zest really have in units? 3 stalkers, 13 zealots, and a single immortal on the other side of the map. A couple of zealots being warped in with that immortal, +2 is on the way, but I don't think it's going to be enough against this roach ravager force. Of course, a new swarm host or locust wave will be available within 10-15 seconds as well. It should be a real issue for Zest. Yeah, here we go. Locust wave will be available very soon. You should be able to deal with this run by, as 10 drones do go down. Zest is trying as hard. He's microing the best he possibly can, but I doubt it's going to be enough. Down 80 supply, even in workers, but yeah, GG gets caught, and Rogue wins game number 2. Alright, we have our final game of this series, which once again will start with a 13 pylon, I believe. So Zest going for the same thing 3 times in a row, at least the same opener with that pylon block. Let's see if he follows it up with something different again. First game, of course, we had that Glaive Adept opener. Second game, those triple oracles into an 8 gate without gas. Didn't work out too well. Never been a massive fan of those 8 or 9 gates without gas. I think they're really obvious if the Zerg scouts for them. And especially if you have to open immortals against roaches, it feels really quite weak, because it delays the infrastructure so much. Against Ling Bane or Hydra Ling Bane, or even Hydra into Lurker, it can be very good, because most of the time they won't have Lurkers yet, or a sufficient amount of Banelings, sometimes not even Baneling speed yet, which means they'll have a very rough time dealing with a push that comes that quickly. Zest once again doing a good job blocking that natural. Always waits for very long as well until he goes up into the main base. It's cool to see. Now he will move up, start hitting those minerals, like his life depends on it. Well, basically this probe's life does depend on it. If he hits the minerals really well, he might get to see another day. If he doesn't do a good job, I usually sacrifice my probe. I only want hard workers in my army. Rogue actually pulling workers to deal with it. It's very uncommon to see. Most of the time you just kind of spam click on the mineral patches. but not rogue. He just attacks the probe. It's cool to see. Something different. First queen is on the way already. Second queen will be slightly delayed because this hatch was placed on the third base and thus a little bit delayed as well. Adapt first. Into straight warp gate. Now this is a big tell. This can mean a couple of things. This can mean either fast robotics facility, fast glaive, DT drop, but most likely won't be Stargate. It would be the trick of a lifetime if we go Stargate after this, because you need that gas of that warp gate, the 50 extra gas for the faster tech, and yes, indeed, we do see the Twilight Council, no chrono on the second unit once again. He'll most likely cancel that shade then, yes. Only if you chrono the second unit will you see Protoss finish that first shade. It's too scary to move out if there are two links come by. Yeah, you basically will be out of position and the Zerg will get to see for free what's going on in your main base, which is something you want to prevent at all costs. There's still an Overlord over here for Rogue. He isn't sending it in yet, but he could potentially send it in as Rogue is trying to move forward. Overlord speed is on the way. Don't think he should be... no link speed though, right? No link speed. So it's Overlord speed without link speed, which is a rare thing to see. We see the two extra gates like I mentioned before, the glaives, and then the fourth gate will be added after that. So there's a slight delay there. Initial warp in is 3 adepts to go to a total of 4, and then you warp in 4 more to get to a total of 8. 4 plus 4 is 8, or 2 times 4 is 8 as well. Some basic mathematics. Pulls out of gas to get a smoother build as well. So this build is mainly limited by minerals. You want to optimize your mineral mining, and you can pull out of gas relatively fast as adepts hardly cost any gas. Well, here comes the Overlord speed. Spores are being built as well. Not sure quite what Rogue is afraid of, but curious to see. We see a 4th queen being popped out of that natural hatchery that is placed at the 3rd base. Followed up by a Dark Shrine. And that's an interesting one. You see 4 adepts being warped in. We'll be moving forward. That's a relatively late warp in, I have to admit. That means his second warp in is also gonna be quite late, but Roadwarn isn't even close to being done yet. A reactionary Roadwarn to this with this late Overlord speed might just not be possible, as second warp in of 4 adepts will finish around 4:42. Not a single Roach is out on the map. Link speed isn't done yet. We had a similar scenario in game 1, except then there was Banelings. Now there's nothing really. Only 36 workers as well for Rogue, who's already losing 4, goes down to 32. Link speed does finish up. First 3 Roaches are on the way. Lair is halfway done, and where's the Spore? There is a Spore somewhere here, right? Or did it get cancelled? No, Spore is in the main base. Adepts are trying to do some damage, and 4 more Adepts are being warped in. I'm very afraid of Rogue, because he doesn't really have anything yet to deal with potential DTs. We see a new Spore being built. Oh, Rogue went into the main base, scouted the Dark Shrine. So that's a very good play. How many Roaches does he have? 3 Roaches. We see 3 DTs and a Zealot. This immediately, the Zealot triggers the Overseer response, obviously. We don't have anything into the natural base, actually. Oh. Adept Shade into the 3rd. Trying to take down this Spore. That's a very ambitious play, I may say so. And we see a recall being used on a single DT and a Zealot. Archon does go down. This is not the hottest start that Zest would have hoped for, I guess. He'd get a decent amount of worker kills, 9 worker kills, but he lost a lot of his army. And now, yeah, we have Rogue just pumping out more and more drones. 2 DTs will be heading into the main base where there is a Spore. 2 adepts will be moving into the natural. These DTs are actually doing a good job, getting 6 more worker kills. 3rd base is on the way for Zest as well. These 2 adepts will be able to slice away on some drones as well. And after the Spore goes down, most likely these DTs will be picked up. Maybe even slightly before. No. Waits for the Spore to fall, picks up the DTs. A little bit of money in the bank here for Zest, who started worker production again. Spines for Rogue already out. As well as a Spire starting now. This is a very odd play. This is very rare to see, honestly. We don't see this kind of stuff a lot. Against Glaive Adept builds, it's very uncommon to follow up with Spire because Blink is so extremely common, as well as just any kind of follow-up push Level 4 gas is also relatively common. Now, of course, Rogue has very good information gathering with these overlords with speed. Already has an overlord that is ready to drop as well. Moves out of position to not get spotted by the observer. I'm not sure how Rogue does it, but this guy is an absolute magician. 2 Archons trying to do some damage on the other side of the map meanwhile. We have a Nexus. Happily building some probes. Very low drone count for Rogue right now, you see that? Just basically rush straight into those 6 gases. On the key, it's a bunch more workers. Won't be able to escape. Spore was still barely in range, but Rogue actually is... It's very rare to see a Mutalisk, but I think this is as close as you're gonna get to a Mutalisk, honestly. Because the Mutas just need to do a lot of damage, and there's almost no gas, so it's gonna be like 4 or 5 Mutas. There's no fort base on the way yet. There's no upgrades whatsoever for Rogue. Blink is being built. Once again, no vision on the side here for Zest, just like in game number 1. There is a cannon in the main base. There's a cannon coming up in the natural base. So these links shouldn't be able to do too much. A little bit of a pro pool should be able to deal with this. Maybe this cannon alone is plenty. See one Zealot being warped in. Now, it's annoying that if you do list this cannon, of course, you're a little bit weaker once again in the main base against Mutas. Due to 8 Mutalisk on the way now, but... There's no real follow-up punch here coming out of Rogue. I mean, there's a couple of roaches being built, but these roaches have no upgrade. +1 is being researched. Still no fort base, so this should be Muta into more Mutas, maybe? I mean, I don't really see a transition here for Rogue, who doesn't have a Baneling Nest yet either. Still no fort base. Oh, here comes a fort, I guess. And then he'll be... probably going into Banelings. Yes, there we go. I think what Zest is gonna do is gonna defend this Muta, move across the map. He's gonna have a very good shot of killing his opponent. We see a single cannon here in the natural. We see 2 cannons in the main. A prism with Archons chasing these Mutalisks. Should be careful with that. Blink finishes up and these Mutas have been successfully denied. I don't think they got a single worker kill. So far Rogue got a single worker. I think that might have been with his links earlier on. Or maybe with these roaches. Even worker count usually means that's good for Protoss player. Very close in supply count as well. And yes, now that these Mutas have been stopped, what is there really here for Rogue? I mean, you can get some slow Banelings, I guess. No Baneling speed yet, does start. Still a long way from finishing. But +1 and Blink is done for Zest, who is trying to chase some Mutalisk. But I mean, these Mutas, even if they go unchecked right now, like what are they gonna do? It's gonna take absolute years to kill anything. Loses 2 more Mutas, 3 more Mutas. Yeah, do go down. Fort base on the way for Zest, but I don't think Zest is gonna be waiting for that. He'll just move across the map. He has a prism with his army, 2 Archons. Banelings still don't have speed. There's not a lot of creep either to give that extra speed boost. 8 Ravagers on the way as Rogue can smell the attack coming. Means there's now 14 Ravagers, which is a big investment. Basically means that Rogue needs to absolutely crush this fight in order to have a chance in this game, because Ravagers don't translate well into a later game. Charge on the way for Zest, but I think Zest is going to try to end it right here, right now. With that Prism, we'll be moving forward. Decent force shoots coming out of him, dodging the Biles like a pro. I mean, he is a pro after all, so shouldn't surprise us too much. More Biles going down, but I mean, with the fort base down, Zest already is pretty happy, right? He doesn't need to do too much more here, as long as he doesn't lose his important immortals, as long as he basically doesn't lose everything for free here, he's gonna be absolutely fine. Floating a little bit of money. Once the charge finishes, once he gets the Templar Archives, he will be able to spend so much money into Charge Lot Archon. He's even supply against someone who's building roaches right now. As a Zerg player, that's never a situation you really want to be in. As yeah, we see Zest basically just moving around the map for now with these 2 immortals, these 20 or so stalkers. And he doesn't want to attack up a ramp, right? It's the only way he can truly lose. Most likely we'll just re-expand onto this fort base, get a couple of extra zealots, getting Archons. I think that is from DTs. I have not spotted the Templar Archives yet. I wouldn't mind if you just build a Templar Archives either for Storm or slightly cheaper Archons. +2 gets started, and Zest knows he's in a very commanding lead right now. Goes back to harassing with this Prism. This Prism has given him so much, by the way. Helped against the Mutas, did a lot in the early game. There's still 2 Mutas remaining, but 2 Mutas against 2 Archons. That's not a fight you want to be taking as the Mutalisk player, I can tell you that much. These Mutas have done absolutely nothing. It's such an expensive investment here out of Rogue, and I think they might have killed, well, a worker and a half, and maybe accidentally damaged a pylon once or twice. It's not exactly what you want of a 1,000 investment, of course, including that Spire and the 8 Mutalisk. Yeah, units lost kind of tells the tale, right? 2k behind for Rogue, who has been on even footing or worse eco all game long, basically. Now, Zest still trying to find some angles to deal damage with this Prism. We see a 4 Baneling run by, which is cool, but will be found by Zest army, which is conveniently positioned here for whatever reason. Splitting up his army similar to game number 1, where he attacked from 2 sides and then kind of juggled his army back and forth until he found an engagement that was good enough to instantly win the game. We see a big part of his army here at the bottom, and then the 2 main parts will be joining up together to, I guess, fight the Ravager Bane. Here we go, 2 Zealots trying to move forward. Rogue not quite sure how he wants to split this army against this, of course. It's difficult to decide because he doesn't have complete vision here. Neither does Zest, but I think Zest, because there's so little creep, it's very easy for Zest to kind of skirt around and be very dangerous very quickly. Of course, with the blink, he also has another tool of a quick escape. Now we see Zest actually taking a pretty poor fight in this area. Well, these links will die, so that's nice. Another big Zealot weapon will be able to deal with that. This fight went a lot better for Zest. Actually, both fights went fantastic in the end. Zest pulling away this main army from the 3rd base, where Zealots are going absolutely ham. Archons are fighting against Overseers and Creep Tumors, exactly what Archons want to be doing at this point. And we see, it is this cool play by Zest, right? Just moving back, moving in, moving back, moving in. And eventually Rogue just kind of explodes. And Zest wins the game 2-1. So pretty cool series, some new builds, and it's not the final yet, but it's a cool game between the 2 guys that do end up being in the final. Spoiler alert. So hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I hope to see you boys back tomorrow for a new Beating Grandmaster with stupid stuff. Bye bye.